the right link.
What is going on, guys? That's right, Paul is jumping in as I'm introducing the show, so you will hear. Tonight we have Golden FM with us. Cheers for joining us, Paul.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm not bad, Paul. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you.
Fantastic. And also we have FM WizKid, James. James join us as always, James.
Yeah, no problem. Good evening, guys.
Misha on time this week. And we also have Ryan, who, if anyone listened to Thursday's show, didn't bother to turn up till halfway through. But cheers, join us, Ryan.
Good evening.
Also known as Mr. Happy. He's put in brackets on my little notes for the show. On tonight's show, we're going to be discussing a few topics. We've got the Capital One Cup final, and we've got playing with low league clubs in the Champions League, Europa League, and them in obviously real life football. China deciding that they want to teach kids how to play football. I've tried it with my kids, it's a waste of time. Great government banning football, that's going to be an interesting one. Also Parma's demise, as well as a few others. But also, actually, around about 10:30, we're going to be revealing a weekly event that we're going to be running. So stay tuned for that. Paul's going to be excited about that, no doubt. I can hear the excitement.
Sure, yes.
Yeah. But first off, we're going to go into the Capital One Cup final, which happened just yesterday. And as a West Ham fan, I'm sure Paul really enjoyed watching it.
I didn't actually watch it.
Fantastic, brilliant.
I watched the highlights. I've seen the goals.
Yeah, that'll be. Who needs to see the game? Ryan, what did you think of the game? Did you like how I just gloss over the fact Paul didn't see it?
I thought it was a good game. The tactics that Mourinho chose were very interesting. Playing Zuma defensive mid was strange. He didn't seem to cope, and eventually he changed. But Mourinho, being Mourinho, craves the titles and got the job done in the end.
Now, I know one of the things you wanted to discuss was if Mourinho got the tactics right. Well, he won the game, didn't he, James? So surely he did get them right.
Yeah, I mean, how often does Jose get them wrong? That's his 21st trophy, I believe, in his career, and he's still quite young as a manager, so his tactics seem to work a lot. And I didn't think Zuma would have the technical ability to play defensive midfield, but obviously he's a central defender and he's got that mentality of the defensive role, so it was a good move there. I think that's where he should have played David Luiz when he had him.
And what, I know you didn't see much of the game, Paul, and obviously just saw the highlights, but what do you think Tottenham are missing, which obviously stopped them from going that step further?
Well, they don't have good enough players. The team's just not as good as Chelsea's, is it? Quite obviously.
They've bought more quantity more than quality, haven't they, over the last few years?
I think they've got a huge squad. They've got a bigger squad than Chelsea, but Chelsea have more quality. Well, Chelsea have a big squad, but they tend to loan out all their players, don't they? But they've got quality rather than quantity.
Yeah. He also does quite often play the same style.
His best midfield, because he seems to swap them around a lot, doesn't he?
Well, I think apart from Eriksen, James, there's nobody who I would put into Chelsea's team, for example.
No, I mean, he's the top-class player in that team. Hugo Lloris would get in the squad, but would he get ahead of Courtois? It would be a tight one. But I think their central defence is a problem. Don't think they have that top-class central defender to partner Vertonghen. I think they're always chopping and changing. They've got Kabul, they've got Dier, but none of them are really top class. And I also agree with the central midfield situation. We keep seeing Bentaleb starting, or Stambouli, I think his name is, their signing from last summer. None of them are going to cement themselves in that team for years and years to come. So I think they need to sort that out too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Tottenham develop, because in theory they've got a lot of players you could sell and bring in some money to help with the rebuilding. But before we go on to the next topic, I just want to quickly mention I was so excited to get into the show I actually forgot. At the start of every show we obviously recommend a fan site or fan channel in this case, and we've got our very own guest this evening, Golden FM, on in the background. As you see, he's got a Let's Play with West Ham. He's also just reached over 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's quite incredible, really. Started about 2.5 years ago, and just gradually grown in. And I've gone in spurts because when I'm consistent, I'm very consistent, but then I go through patches of not uploading, generally during the summer, so it gets a bit dead then. Then I have to rebuild again. So to get to 10,000, I'm really, really happy with.
So there you go, guys. As it's March, you now know that in a couple of months it's not going to be worth subscribing to. But then come back in the winter when he doesn't want to go
No,
outside.
I'll be keeping going now.
You've got too many fans not to keep going.
I mean, in the old days, I didn't have as many, of course, and it generally does get a bit quiet in the FM community over the summer. But I think it's grown and grown now that things will keep going. People tend to stream a lot during the summer, so that's something that keeps it going, I think, and it will this year especially.
It's going to be interesting to see how it keeps going. Just quickly before we go on, Jay's come on. Jay's listening. Jay said, "Who would you guys sign for Tottenham as a continuation of James's comment?" I'd sign a whole new midfield apart from Eriksen because I just think they're all second-level players in my opinion. Go on, Paul.
I think Dembele is a good, solid player, a very good player, but he's, for whatever reason, I think if you put your trust in Dembele and said, you're my main guy in midfield, he'd be a beast, like a really strong player. But because he's been chopping and changing the squad and he's in and out, I think Dembele would be a star in certain teams. But there's just too many players at Tottenham for him to really find himself.
I actually think, I don't know about yourself, Ryan, just to finish off, but I actually think Dembele, in my opinion, is more of the type of player who looks fantastic for a mid-table side, but then doesn't really cut it at one of the top sides.
Yeah, he's one of these that plays in spurts. He'll have a good game, and then he'll just fall off form, and you won't see him for a few weeks, and then he'll have a good game eventually. But you get players like that, and when he turns up, he turns up.
There's no Gabriel Obertan. We'll go on to the next one, which is managing smaller clubs in the Champions League and the Europa League. Basically, how do managers cope doing that? The money for the smaller teams, it helps with financial fair play. Ryan's obviously mentioned here. The Champions League results from the week, I'll just quickly run through, was Arsenal 1, Monaco 3, Leverkusen beat Atletico Madrid 1-0, Juve beat Dortmund 2-1, Barcelona beat City 2-1, Porto drew away Basel 1-1. Real Madrid beat Schalke 2-0. PSG won with Chelsea 1-1. Sorry, and Shakhtar 0, Bayern 0. That was obviously from Cup score. Ryan, does not years ago there was the likes of Porto, for example, were the last small club, weren't they? To not small club, but you know what I mean, to get it right, weren't they? Are smaller clubs in real life going to come through anymore?
Whether they're going to do what Mourinho did at Porto is another matter, but you've still got smaller clubs that are still in there. FC Basel are always around there. I think it was a few years ago they beat Man United, if I can remember. They always...
How can anybody beat Man United? Jesus Christ.
Well, they're always around the group stage, they're always around the knockout stage, at least the first round. So if small teams like this can get in the Champions League, maybe small teams that are in the Europa League can force their way through.
I think, what about yourself, Paul? What's your opinion on... I mean, in Football Manager, you see loads of people, don't you, who take that smaller club up there, and you've done it with such a small club like West Ham.
Yeah, but I think it's a lot easier in Football Manager. Yeah. I mean, in real life, just money dominates so much. I'd love to see Basel do really well because they always seem to beat the English teams, don't they? And you have to give them credit. They do very well in the Champions League every year, it seems. So it'd be nice to see them have a good run and maybe even get to a semi-final one day. I mean, in terms of them winning it, I can't see that happening.
I'm trying to think, how would you like it to change, James, on Football Manager to almost make it, not impossible, but make it take years and years? Like, I always think, I know Jay's actually a really good example of this. He actually, when he started his Lowesoft save, he set a 30-year plan, I think it was. And he did it after like 10 years he's up in the Premier League, or even less, I think it is. So it shows how easy you can fly through the leagues in Football Manager if you just get the right tactic. For example, how would you change Football Manager to make it harder, James?
I'm not really sure how you could go about changing it. I mean, you don't often see the smaller clubs winning the Champions League in the first season. I mean, I just did a holiday season, and Sporting Lisbon have made the Champions League final on that. They haven't actually played it yet, but I think it's more of a process, like as you say. I mean, I was Sporting Lisbon on FM14 and made a plan within 8 years to get to the Champions League final, or hopefully win it, of course. And I ended up getting to 7 seasons, and I couldn't get past the quarter final. But like in real life, the bigger clubs keep spending big money. The smaller clubs are spending small money compared to them. And I don't think we'll see an underdog win the Champions League for a good few years yet.
I mean, it's almost quite depressing, Paul, isn't it? To think. I mean, I've been trying to think, how can they make it harder on Football Manager?
I don't think they will, though, because people won't buy the game if they can't do that.
That's the issue.
People want to be successful. They want to get a small team up there. That's part of the game. If they made it impossible, then no one would buy the game. So
I mean,
it's meant to be a realistic simulation of real football, but at the same time,
yeah. Go on, James. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say the fellow admin at the WizKids, Andy, he actually just won the Champions League in the first season with Feyenoord, which I thought would be almost impossible, but believe it or not, he never actually won a single game until the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So it just shows if you manage to get a bit of luck and you get the right signings, you can do it, but it's a very, very hard challenge.
It's unbelievable. They make me feel crap at Football Manager. I'm one of these normal people who battle through and take years to do something, where you have these people who, like, within a year they've like conquered the world. It's like, oh, depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I like to try and take a middle of the road club such as Feyenoord, but put a plan 5 years or more, try and get to the final and win it and progress each year. But I guess everybody's different, and you need that stroke of luck.
I mean, obviously we won't mention live on air that you told me you hope you get sacked in season 2, James. So we'll keep that to ourselves. Just quickly mention here the Europa League. Paul, why do English clubs seem to... Do they not care, or were they just unlucky with Liverpool and Tottenham going out? What happened, do you think?
I don't think they care as much as some of the foreign teams, like Italian teams, Spanish, Portuguese teams, actually see it as a realistic chance to win a competition. And it means a lot more to their fans. I think it's the media over here almost made it a competition that is unfashionable, whereas in other countries it's probably primetime TV. The media really get behind it, get behind the teams, whereas in England we just don't care, do we? And we almost see it as a poison chalice in a way.
I think it's strange because obviously the winner gets in the Champions League, don't they, Ryan? So I find it strange that obviously Liverpool and Tottenham both didn't push for this, because obviously there's always that possibility they're not going to get the top 4.
Yeah, I was just about to comment in with that. So you've took the words right out of my mouth there. I don't know why the English teams... You can read my mind, but I don't know why these English teams aren't taking it more seriously. It's a Champions League spot. Who knows? Liverpool might not qualify for the Champions League this year. They might not finish top 4.
I think with Spurs, they obviously had the cup final to worry about, and I think Pochettino thought, I've got another how many games, like 10 games to get to the final in the Europa League with all the extra legs, whereas I've got 1 game to possibly win a final. Let's concentrate on that. Liverpool, they just didn't play very well, did they? They really should have pushed for that, but they didn't.
I just think it's strange. I know a lot of people... I didn't see the game. A lot of people were saying how Sterling bottled it, didn't take a penalty, Lovren missed the penalty, etc. I just think it's... I just think it's strange. Obviously, you've got a chance to qualify for the Champions League if you win. And like you said, it's just kind of come across as an unpopular competition. I mean, I know in Norway they build it up, it's on TV, etc., and then they go out in the second qualifying round.
But it's more of a chance in Norway. They're not going to win the Champions League, a Norwegian team, but there's a chance of a Norwegian team having a little bit of a run and getting into the groups and possibly into the knockouts. Whereas in England, everyone's worried about the Champions League. It's all about the Champions League.
Yeah, I think the excitement this year is the fact of Molde having a fantastic season last year. They're hoping this year there's a possibility of the third qualifying round of the Champions League, and then automatically going to the groups of the Europa. So yeah, that's like classed as a successful campaign. But we're going to move on to China, the very large country who obviously have a very interesting development plan. The government has approved the country's football reform plan and says being good at football is the Yeah, it's just the wish of the whole nation. I have no idea what that word Ryan stuck. Ryan's gave me a couple of notes for tonight. It's a good plan. We are more organised, but some of the words he stuck in, I had no idea. Paul, seriously,
Yep.
what a China. What are they going to just stick a bunch of babies on a pitch and throw
I
the balls?
understand what they're
until they
doing. China, if you think about it, and India, both of those nations, they're the two biggest populated countries in the world. If they actually focused, I mean, they've got more important things to worry about, to be fair, in actually supporting their poor population. But if they actually concentrated on sport, football, they could be literally the best team in the world one day because they've got the biggest population, meaning they've got the biggest pool to choose from. So if they actually reformed everything, in 100 years' time, they might be the powerhouses of football. You never know. So what they're doing, I guess, is they're going to be training young people from a young age, well, obviously, people from a really young age to be footballers. And I guess that's what they're doing. They're just going to teach them to play football, and that's it, and try and turn them into incredible world beaters.
Well, I think there's videos on YouTube, etc., of like 5-year-old kids who are absolute golf stars and stuff, and it's amazing to watch how amazing their golf swing is at such a young age. I suppose they could get hold of them young enough and teach them how to cross a ball, pass a ball properly and stuff.
Do it with like musicians. I mean, they've got some of the best pianists in the world who just world proteges at like the age of 4. So they've got such a big population that's doable for them. How they go about it, I don't know. I mean, they might do it in ways that are frowned upon. I know sort of in the past the Russians used to force children to do gymnastics and would force their bodies into horrible positions that weren't particularly natural but made them incredible gymnasts in the sort of 70s and 80s. So I don't know if that's what they're going to be doing with their footballers as well, their football babies.
James, are you looking forward to seeing a load of future Chinese stars?
Well, yeah, with the population that they have and the plans that they have, there's no reason why they can't have 10 or 15 Ronaldos and Messis. Why not? If one can come from Argentina and one Portugal, why can't in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, China have 10 of them, 20 of them? And also, it really depends on the complexes they'll be using, the training complex and whatever else equipment that they have. Is it going to be up to scratch as much as their plan has been talked about?
Yeah, I think it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely one to look out for. It's one that we just had to throw in just because it was so random when it came up. But the next one we're going to go on to, Ryan, is the Greek government banning football. The Greek government suspended all countries' top football leagues indefinitely following violence at the derby of the eternal enemies between Panathinaikos and Olympiakos. And the pitch was lit with fireworks.
Football going to prevent hooliganism? Surely they just could have banned the fans and played the football behind closed doors. I
think it's definitely an interesting one. I mean, I know when I read about this, my girlfriend sat next to me and I said to her, surely that's just going to cause riot in a country which had all these issues with the government no longer, and it was obviously very public on the TV, all the riots in the streets. I'm sorry, but football is a very, very popular sport and obviously a very passionate sport in Greece. So surely banning football is going to cause more riots on the street. It's backwards, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, banning things just doesn't work in general, does it? Because it just makes people want to rebel and go against the laws of the country or whatever. So I mean, that's how things just doesn't work and just causes more problems. So I don't know what they're playing at there, if that's the case.
I think, James, just banning football, it's literally just like, what? You banned the football because of fireworks, flares and smoke bombs thrown onto the pitch as well as supposed to charge the pitch. How about they just search fans before they go into the ground?
Yeah, I think that's what they should do. More security, search fans. I mean, how can that sort of things get through there to cause that much trouble? But as for banning or not banning games or whatever, I think it's kind of down the middle. If you ban them, it'll see how much people actually love football and if they're willing to calm down to be able to come back. Or it could go the other way and it could just all mayhem could break loose.
But I think they also need to consider is what it's happened in London, which obviously Paul lives close to London for any stalkers, and
Sort of.
well, it's close enough for them to walk if you want to stalk you. The what was I saying? Oh yeah, the banned away fans, the Crystal Palace away fans, and they've only just recently been allowed back into West Ham, for example. Why didn't they just do that? Ban the away fans?
I think that's the best thing to do. Away fans are usually the ones that cause the trouble at football grounds, and if you just ban away fans, then that probably would. They may go to the city though and cause problems outside the ground. I guess that's the problem.
And also, it's really it's stopping people who are not causing trouble going to the game. So it's sort of a small group are
ruining it for the majority. Yeah. But sometimes that's the only way to stop things. But it can go both ways, can't it? So it's risky.
Well, I definitely think in the long run, though, if you ban everybody and say, right, last week there was an issue, so we're going to ban everybody next week, and if that happens a couple of times, before you know it, the good supporters will soon start pointing fingers, which is, I think, something they did try this, but I think in the long run, the fans who want to go and support the team might turn around and say, well, it was them. Fucking, you're not ruining it for us, so we're just going to basically point to you and make sure you get done for it. That's my older head put on, just like that, just point at them. Just quickly jump down the side. Jay's basically agreeing, he said people would cause shit if they weren't allowed in the ground during the game. I know FM Holland is playing as Panathinaikos on Football Manager, and he has commented, thanks for listening as well, probably said exactly what he thinks. The Greek fans are very passionate, especially Panathinaikos fans, and banning football isn't going to change anything in his opinion. By the way, he watched the game, and yes, there was loads of fireworks, but nothing he hasn't seen before. Definitely not as dramatic as they've made it look. Stalking isn't the same as when I was a kid. Oh.
Why don't they just ban fire? Why don't they just search people for fireworks and stuff?
Exactly, it's like just ban them all if they had fireworks. Did you search them? Well, I didn't think of that.
Doesn't make any sense. Surely, how can someone smuggle that in?
Yeah.
Unless if you're checked, then surely.
How can someone walk in with all this stuff? Just quickly.
Foreign police.
Yeah, that's right, Ryan. You just blame the foreign police. Well done. Right, on the next topic, just a little small topic. I'm just going to mention it to James can have his speak on this. It's just why Jonas Gutierrez returning on the bench for Newcastle at home to Aston Villa at the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's a big moment for the club and for himself. He's received massive support from the football nation, not just the Newcastle fans, but it's brilliant, and it's what and around the squad, and now we're seeing everybody feel. A lot of them start to feel sorry for him after he revealed it, so they kind of change back. And what kind of fan is that? You're slagging him and wanting him out the club, but because he gets an illness, you start to feel sorry for him. I mean, which one is it? For me, I've always stood by him. He has lost his ability with age, but to be able to fight back after that, full fitness, get on the Premier League match, and he will get a run out eventually. I think it's incredible, and he's a brilliant man, and I just love him to bits, and I'd love him to stay around the club.
There you go, fantastic. Good little speech there, James. And now we're going to move. I'm going to actually move on to your topic next, just because I think the discussion about Palmer is going to go on well past the 10:30 new feature I want to plug. So we're just going to move on to the yes men in football, James. Do you want to just explain what you want to talk about there?
Yeah, it was in reference to Alan Pardew when he was at Newcastle, how I don't believe he got to make that much decisions with Graham Carr, the chief scout, Lee Charnley, and of course Mike Ashley himself, whereas they got to sell the big players for a lot of money, bring in a few other players for a lot cheaper, and I don't know how much say he had in it. And John Carver, I don't believe, has had zero say in it, and that's why he's called himself a head coach now instead of the manager. And I just wonder, with all the directors of football in the game these days, how many managers / head coaches actually have a say? And also, does anybody let their director of football take full control on Football Manager?
Paul?
Pardon?
Brilliant.
I'm reading
That's
about
me. I
Palmer.
was listening.
Go on, Ryan.
I think I would never let a director of football take full control, but when I was further down in my in the lower leagues where I didn't know as many players, I let the director of football find players and put bids in, and then I'd look myself at the player, is he any good? And then I'd say yes or no. But I don't think I'd ever let a director of football have full control and bring signings in and they could turn out rubbish.
But
I agree.
like in real life, though, some people might not have a choice. What is Alan Pardew going to do when he was at Newcastle? Come out and he's basically not given a choice who's signed or sold. Likes of, nobody wanted Kabay gone, but he went. Nobody wanted Andy Carroll gone on the last day with hours of the window to go, but he went. Yes, for big money, but Alan Pardew has zero say, and he's going to take the flat. Now, what's he going to come out and say the next day? He's not going to say I was forced into it. That's why we got excuse after excuse from him.
So I don't see why they don't just come. At this club we have it. Some of the clubs do it, and to be fair, every club that does it has completely gone out of my mind. I'm sure West Brom did it, didn't they, before Pulis come in? They actually said, we have a director of football, I don't make the signings, I don't sell the players, this guy does, I just manage the team. So some people do it. Do you ever use director of football, Paul?
Very rarely. I sometimes, if I have a director, I never really hire a director of football, but I occasionally use it to just search for a player, but very rarely. In terms of what you were saying about clubs having directors of footballs and claiming to use them and stuff, I know West Ham the board signed a lot of players in the summer, and the ironic thing is people sort of praising Sam Allardyce for the signings when a lot of the signings were actually signings from the board. So it can actually work in favour for some managers, because some people have sort of been praising Sam Allardyce for the signings when it was actually the board that made some of the signings. So
it's about time they praised him for something.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that quickly before I jump on?
He's had a good season. He's had last few games been a bit of a struggle. I think long term he probably will have to go, because he's getting on a bit now. He's in his 60s, early 60s, and for the future of the club, I think we probably need someone fresh, especially going into the Olympic Stadium, someone with fresh ideas, I think.
I keep throwing his name out there, Eddie Howe.
Yeah, I actually said that the other day in one of my streams. I mentioned Eddie Howe, but I can't. He loves Bournemouth, doesn't he? So I can't see him leaving, and he got homesick when he left for Burnley.
Yeah, I'd get homesick in Burnley as well, though.
But Eddie Howe, he's a great young manager. Love him.
Now, I will say I delivered many times when I lived in England to Burnley Stadium, and he went back to Bournemouth. Good decision.
Burnley.
It's not the nicest area where the stadium is. It's very run down. I'm sure many people will agree on that. Any complaints, send them to Ryan. But now a new topic, a new feature which we're going to be running. It's going to be very visual. You'll see the stuff each week on the actual stream, starting from Thursday, maybe from next week. It's mainly for the FM show. I think we're going to be doing it. It's called Region of the Week. And as stated, we're looking to introduce a new feature in the FM Central FM show. Each week we'll ask for regions playing in certain positions. Now, I'm thinking each week you can send anybody in. And over the week we'll slowly piece together a team. So each week we'll add one player to the team, whoever sends in the best region in our eyes. Basically, to send it in, you email footballmanagercentral@mail.com.
Capital F.
Yeah, capital F at the start. So it's capital F, footballmanagercentral@mail.com. And now send a screenshot of the player's history, why you've chosen him, and also if he has a really good goal scoring record or assist record, send in that as well. Obviously, it'll be in the player history. Brilliant. Good job, Paul. But yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting to see if we can piece together a fantastic team. For example, second yellow card, he has King Norman Millington. He could send him in, who is an absolute goal machine, great striker. If we saw him, we'd probably be like, wow. But I don't think we're going to say, right, this week we want a goalkeeper, next week we want a right back. Just send in each week who you think your best region is, and we'll kind of piece together a team each week. One player each week will go into the team. So each week we will show the teams, the squad, and obviously to start with it's 11 blank spaces, and we will add one each week. And I've said one each week about 5 times, so if you didn't understand, I'm sorry, but I'm not saying it again. Footballmanagercentral@mail.com, capital F to start with, and just addressed in region of the week. Now my list is empty, so Ryan, where are we going now?
You forgot about Palmer?
Oh yeah, I'll go back up. So you should have had this organised. Right, next we're going to talk about Palmer's demise. I'm just going to read a couple of points about the club before we jump to James, because he told me he's an expert on this topic. Right, the club is 144 million in debt, and the risk of liquidation is imminent. The club aren't paying their staff or players, and they've cancelled games due to being unable to pay stewards, etc. Now, in the summer of 2013 alone, Girandi, the former manager, sanctioned the arrival of and departure of over 260 players. That's in the summer of 2013 alone. Mostly youngsters, but they're all on the wage bill. It was all mainly down to co-ownership, which has now been abolished, but obviously at the time it was legal. 260 players in one summer. Jesus. Scrutiny has fallen on 221 who were listed as playing or affiliated with Parma at one stage, 30 in the first team, 109 out on loan, 60 in the third division Gubo, 22 at NK, Garcia, and 44 co-owned with other clubs. The club has now been sold twice for £1, in which the club deemed as a rescue ownership, but no one has been found to clear the debts. Most debts have come from the amount of players and unpaid club's taxes. How did I do, Ryan?
Very good.
Oh, thank you. So, James, what is going on?
Well, it's a real shame to see such a big club in Italy, of course. I think it's 20 years ago now since they won the UEFA Cup, so in such 20 years is quite a short space in terms of football, but so much debt, and now they can't even afford hot water for the youth team, according to the coach, Hernan Crespo now. So, and obviously cancelling home games because they can't pay for stewards, as you said, and whatever else. It's absolutely shocking. How can a game of Parma versus Udinese, which is relatively big in Italy, not bring in enough money and not be able to afford to pay their staff, and the players haven't been paid all season? It's crazy where it's come, and I think for them, they probably wanted that co-ownership cancelled many years ago, and it would have probably helped them, and they wouldn't have such a big squad like what most Italian teams do.
Yeah, I think I was talking to you, Ryan, when I said that they were kind of hoping, signing so many players for one wonder kid within that group who they could maybe sell on and make a fortune off.
Well, yeah, that's always the issue with co-ownership. You see it always on FM, where it'll be abolished on Future FM, where you get teams like Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, they sign a youngster 15, 16, 17, possibly could be a wonder kid. If they're not, then you spent all that wage and all the co-ownership money, and it's all gone to waste.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, I'm just going to read you a couple of players out, and then you can give your opinion. This is their squad from 1995.
It's probably a bit before my time, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Dino Baggio, Faustino Asprilla, Fabio Cannavaro, Filippo Inzaghi. Let's go through. There's a few there. Fernando Cunto, Gianfranco Zola, Gianluigi Buffon.
Some legends in there.
It goes on. It goes. I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, to think this club has now been sold for £1 twice.
Crazy. I mean, I don't really have much to add on this, but I do like Parma ham.
That's all right. I mean, I think definitely when we retweet and publicise the show during the week. I mean,
You can put
Paul's
hashtag Parma Ham.
hashtag Palmer Ham. Unfortunately, Palmer is struggling after discussing the likes of Cannavaro, Inzaghi, Gianluigi Buffon. Golden FM told us how he likes Palmer Ham.
I do like Parma ham.
No, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't know about yourself, James.
I don't mind it. Yeah, it's alright.
As a chef, James will tell us now what Parma ham goes nicely with.
Deep fry it and put it on a PLT, Parma ham, lettuce and tomato roll.
There you go. You don't get this on any Monday night show.
Put me on the spot there.
That's alright. Good test. You can tell what James is craving. He's just craving something deep fried. Right, go on, Ryan. You added a couple of extra topics just in case. So do you want to throw one at me?
Yeah, I'm just going to stay on the Parma topic, just a brief thing. I'm not sure if it's actually true, but I read a few weeks ago that Buffon, he says if they get into real trouble, that he will contribute his wages or something towards helping Parma avoid liquidation. So
Bit late, isn't it?
it's a bit late, but could these players that you've listed, all a set of amazing players there, could they all get together and put their millions that they've earned over their years playing and help the club, even if they can pay for the water for the youth team? Something.
I'm actually going to put James on. I'm going to put James on the spot. This actually happened. It was Pirlo. Hasn't Pirlo helped out a club? Go on, James.
I was just going to tell you about that when Brescia were about to go out just like Parma, and he stepped up and he covered all their bills and their debt, which it can't have been that much for an individual man to pay all of it. But we also seen it with is it Real Oviedo when Cazorla, I think Mata and somebody else saved that club from going down under. So like all them players listed, there's no reason. Well, I mean, it's their own personal money, but I think they would help out, and I don't see why they don't get a consortium together and do it. But they never stopped spending, really. I mean, they went on after all those big players and continued to spend and spend. So whoever was the previous owner maybe lost track of finances or whatever, because they were paying big money to like Adrian Mutu. He was on big money, and it just continued and continued, and it's sad that they're away to pay the price. And I hope somebody steps up and a few players step up. I don't see why they wouldn't. And yeah, but you just want them, even if they're not going to stay in the league, which is very doubtful. If they have to go down 2 or 3 divisions, then as long as they stay afloat, it'd be sad to lose them as a whole. As I said, 20 years ago, UEFA Cup winners, then there'll be nothing.
It is sad to see, but it just appears that Italian football has some serious issues when it comes to fans. There's so many clubs seem to be dropping financially and just struggling to come back up. Now, I think I've just done the most random search in the world on Google this evening, and I searched Brescia food just to check if anything rhymed with it, ready for Paul's comeback. But I couldn't find anything, Paul, so I'm sorry.
What?
Oh, brilliant.
Sorry, someone tweeted me and I'm very confused.
Was it a good tweet? Do you want to mention it or not? No? Oh. As long as it wasn't abuse.
They appear to have subtitles on my video, and it's come out with different words to what I was saying, so I'm a bit confused.
Ah, that's not very nice. Damn subtitles. If you do watch Paul's, it doesn't matter, mate. Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
If you do watch Paul's video, I'm just going to show you the video. James, you'll have. I don't know if you noticed this day. Paul's actually just reached over 10,000 subscribers, which I think is worth another mention.
Well, I know. I'm on the ball. I wish them all the best
Yes,
this morning.
you did. Thank you very much, James.
It's a great achievement and something we're very pleased about. It's a good number. So
I think overall
keep your work up.
Thanks. I think overall it's a good sign for the FM community in general, because there is that audience there, and it's hopefully everyone can tap into that audience, and hopefully it continues to grow, and we all get more people coming onto our pages, onto our channels, onto our Twitter accounts, everything, because that would be brilliant for everyone, wouldn't it, if that was possible?
Well, that's it. If you could come and check everything out, enjoy our shows, enjoy your Crossbar Challenge, your West Ham series. I mean, as you see there, Puff and Power. Nurturing Nottingham, I'm actually 2 episodes behind now. I'm falling well behind.
Oh, disgraceful.
It's even worse out at number 10's promotion party, which is basically depressing me, even though it was pretty much nailed on.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really giving much away, is it?
No, you've had the most boring season ever. It's just been
This has been dominant. It'd be different in the Premier League, I think. And also the update. I'm not sure how effective this tactic will be on the update, so time will tell with that as well.
Just quickly, how have you found the update?
I've had a couple of problems. You saw the end of my video where I had the Subutio match engine.
Well, it's just FM16.
That's mended. That's mended now.
Yeah.
But I've also found, like, not that I really pay too much attention to the star ratings from my assistant, but they keep going up and down. Like every time I reload the game, like open the game again, it's just changing all the time. Like the star ratings, it's really strange.
That is strange. So I seem, touch wood, I seem to be glitch free at the minute. So no doubt it's going to go totally tits up later on. Now I've said that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much just nearly done tonight, Ryan, isn't it, boss?
We have got 3 minutes, but I'll ask everyone a quick question with one final topic that I've got in. I've just been looking at the topics. We'll go to the Qatar World Cup that could be possibly moving to November and December. And do you think it's a good move, or do you think it's a bad move? I can hear Paul grunting because I can hear a rant coming away from Paul. So I'll ask you, Paul, first.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, it's a fucking joke, honestly. Sepp Blatter's got his head buried up somebody's arse. His pockets are lined with so much money he doesn't know what to spend it with. Absolute joke. They bid for a World Cup in the summer. They win the World Cup now and go, oh, can we change the date to Christmas? Can change it to Christmas. Do you know the Premier League runs over Christmas? It's stupid, man. Honestly, I think it's the biggest joke. If it goes to Christmas, I'm going to have to travel to Switzerland and have a word.
I agree with the whole aspect of them being awarded the World Cup. It's all corrupt and everything. But in a way, I think it may favour the English because when we play in the summer, our players are completely knackered. If we're playing in November and December, we've had a couple of months of football. They'll be fresh, they'll be fit and ready for that World Cup. And also, it's one time around. It'd be quite exciting it being around Christmas time, I think. And just for once, it's just something different. And it's only once. It's not the end of the world.
I just think
the whole aspect of it being awarded to Qatar and everything with people being killed, building stadiums, it's ridiculous. But in terms of the actual competition being in November, December, I've got no problem because I think we'd have more chance of being successful. And it's just a one-off, and it'd be interesting it being around the Christmas period, I think.
Yeah, but what do we watch in the summer?
There's the World Cup's once every 4 years, so.
I know, once every 4 years I don't have to talk to my missus.
I'm just saying it's going to be different. It's just something to look forward to that's a bit different.
Ugh,
hopefully.
fine.
It may not be. It may be moved, obviously. But I'm just saying that it could actually favour the English because our players are always completely knackered when we get to the World Cup.
Yeah, sure.
Well, if we win it, no one's going to be complaining then, are they?
Sure. I'll still claim I'm English, even if I haven't been back to the country by then. Go on, James. As a Scotsman, what's your opinion? You won't get there anyway, but what's your opinion on it?
I think it's an absolute joke. I don't agree with it at all. It would be different, but Alan Shearer was doing a talk the other day. What about the fans that go to the World Cup and say, I don't know, they can't get home for Christmas, or the fans that decide not to go to the World Cup because they know they're not going to get back for Christmas? But also, every second year there's an international tournament as soon as the football season finishes, and I just love it. It's football in the summer, nice weather, I just love it like that.
Yeah, that's for us though, but in other countries the football seasons are at different times of year anyway. Like Brazil, their World Cup was actually started a few weeks after their actual season started. So
I suppose
that's why they always do well, because they've just started playing and all their players are fully fit after just a few weeks of football. It just shows why they do so well all the time. Obviously, there's the exceptions with Germany winning the World Cup, but for whatever reason, a lot of these countries have winter breaks, don't they, that help their players ahead of the World Cup.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that it may actually benefit the English.
I was being more selfish as a football fan.
Yeah, no, as a football fan, it's not ideal. Going
Yeah.
to the World Cup, it's not ideal at all. But
I mean, I can watch the Norwegian football, but that stops for a whole month over the summer, no matter what. So does Iceland. Yeah, they stop for a month over the summer. Maybe they'll play all the way through, because it appears the World Cup they plan on starting it just as the leagues over here finish. So I just don't like the idea. I'm just too old-fashioned. The World Cup happens at the end of the season, but we'll see. If it goes in the winter, then I'll watch it with my Sanders hat on. So. It's not too bad. Somebody's just opened the door, so...
Just move to Australia for the winter, because it'd be summer over there.
I couldn't. It's full of Australians. No offence, Ryan.
There's a bit of casual racism on the show.
Ryan's Australian, so that's allowed. Before we get any complaints about that. But he isn't replying, so he might have actually left.
Oh yeah, someone opened the door. That's
There
what
you
you
go.
heard.
Yep, brilliant. Ryan left. He knew the Australian joke was coming. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. I want to remind you about the region of the week. Email to footballmanagercentral@mail.com. Capital F. Yep. Keep a lookout. Each week we run show polls now, where you can, on our Facebook groups, people can vote for some of the topics we're going to talk about. And email myself or Ryan on the email address, which I will link in the description below if you listen back on YouTube. I'll link it below. And yeah, if you want to be a guest on the show, just contact us on the email address. Thanks for coming on, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. You stick around because we are going to do an interview next, which you will see on the FM Central YouTube channel. Hopefully this Friday, which is interviewing FM Fansite, which I did with Guido from Cyclist.com. People remember from a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and everyone shout goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.